Hey, it's Mr. Mega Man Fan. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. You know all the things to do. If you own an Analog Duo, I have some good news. And if you don't own an Analog Duo, maybe this will give you a little bit of incentive. Now, I do have some issues with Analog, as do a lot of people. The way they hype up FPGA as being the only true way to play games, it's not. The way they state it's real hardware 100%, well, it's emulation of real hardware. That's what field programmable gate arrays are. There's a lot of hyperbole that goes into analog products, and I don't think it's necessary to own one to play vintage video games. They do make a good product, but they're not inexpensive, and a lot of them sell out really fast. And in the Analog Duo's case in particular, people were dismayed by the fact that you couldn't jailbreak it and play your TurboGrafx CD and TurboGrafx Hue cards directly off the SD card. Well, now you can. There is an unofficial jailbreak. Well, I should say they're all unofficial, although some of us suspect that maybe an analog developer is quietly releasing them, but there's no proof of that, just a lot of people's educated guesses. The point is, you can now play these games directly off SD card if you download the Analog Duo JB, which I will link to the GitHub in the description of this video. But as you can see, I am now playing Galaga 90 directly off of the SD card. I did not get up and load a Hue card in first. This is running from an assets folder. You put all of your Hue cards in the assets folder of your SD card, and if you put CD games on there, you put them in individual folders for each one. Now, it probably goes without saying that you're supposed to be using backups of games you already own, backing up your own CDs, backing up your own Hue cards, and playing those backups using this jailbreak. Now, what you do in your own personal life is your own business. This is a judgment-free zone, and TurboGrafx games can run hundreds of dollars or more, depending on how small the print run was and how in demand that particular game was. And maybe you'd like to try a game before you spend that kind of money to own a physical copy, in which case this could be an option to do that. And here's something to keep in mind. If you were going to do this on real hardware, you could buy a PC Engine or a TurboGrafx 16. You might spend 50 to 100 or 100 to 200 depending. Then you'd have to buy either a Turbo EverDrive Pro for CD games or a Terra Onion. And you're looking at either 160 or 300 bucks, depending on whether you get a Turbo EverDrive or a Terra Onion. So we're talking anywhere from $400 to $600 to be able to do this on real hardware. Analog Duo emulates that hardware. It's $200. And since it's FPGA, that means it's going to be pretty close to the real hardware. Not perfect. Let's not buy into the hype here. But it's going to be really darn close in terms of compatibility. In my time testing this jailbreak, I couldn't find anything that didn't work. And as a matter of fact, there was something that I was playing an actual backup of. I own a physical copy of Cosmic Fantasy 2, but no backup had ever worked properly in the Analog Duo. For some reason, the music wouldn't play and some of the sound effects would glitch. But when I played it off the SD card, it worked perfectly. It even read my save data that was already on the SD card before I did the jailbreak and allowed me to continue the game from where I left off, which to me is phenomenal. I don't know why burned CDs of Cosmic Fantasy 2 have never worked, but now I don't care because I don't need to use one anymore. It's great. playing SD card backups of your CDs may be where this jailbreak shines the most, because other Analog Duo owners have contacted me and they are very nervous about the way the CDs load into the front of the system. It feels really tight and it seems kind of noisy, and it makes a lot of people think they're going to get scratched. And that hasn't happened to me, but I understand when you're using a 30-year-old CD that you might have spent hundreds of dollars on, you don't really want to risk getting it scratched up. And you never have that feeling loading it into a TurboGrafx CD add-on or the Turbo Duo, because you're loading it top down onto the spindle and then closing the lid. You're not inserting it and ejecting it. So maybe this would be a way to make you feel more comfortable about using your CD games on the Analog Duo without risking the physical media getting scratched. If that's the kind of thing that's going to make you nervous, then by all means, either play it on your original hardware or play it back up directly off the SD card. And if we're going to go down the rabbit hole of speculation, I think if you bought yourself a big enough SD card, maybe 512 or a terabyte, there's a good chance you could get the entire CD library on an SD card. So if you owned every CD game, or at least every North American one, you could put them all on one card and never have to touch them. So think about that for a moment. And if you're the kind of person that owns every single TurboGrafx CD game, then you could probably drop $200 on an Analog Duo. I'm just saying, you're operating in a ballpark completely out of my league if you've got that kind of money to burn, because I don't know about you, but I don't have $1,000 to drop on Sid Mead's Terraforming, and I don't know when I will anytime soon. So, bottom line is, this Analog Duo jailbreak is freaking fantastic. The developers behind it have done an amazing job, and this is actually an alpha version, if you will. It's like 0.91, so who's to say what's coming to this in the future? Whether it might support multiple cores outside of TurboGrafx and Turbo CD. It does support Super Graphics, by the way, if I didn't already say that. You can use .sgx as the extension instead of .pce. And there are only a half dozen or so of those games, and a couple of them are just TurboGrafx games that run in an enhanced mode, or should I say PC Engine games that run in an enhanced mode. But really, if you want to play the SGX library, go for it. I'm Mr. Mega Man Fan, and as always, thank you for watching.